Today, I'm starting on a project that is a long time coming. We are finally adding the backsplash to our kitchen. And I'm so excited to have this kitchen finished. Almost. There are a couple more things that we have to do, but this is a huge step for us. Now, as you can see, I've already cleared off all of the countertops, so we're ready to go. I've also already gone ahead and separated all of the tile into the perfect ones that are going to be ready to use right out of the box, and some of the broken ones that we lost during shipping. But those ones we're still going to use, and we're just going to be able to trim them down. The wet saw is all set up, so the next thing to do is take down this hood. Whoops. Yeah. And then we're ready to get started. So let's go. After removing the hood, I got to work mixing the mortar. Follow the instructions on the packaging, mixing your powdered mortar with water. Mix well until it's about the consistency of peanut butter. And in case there's any question, we're talking about that thick peanut butter, not the naturally oily kind. Since we have open edges on each side of the wall, we're using Schluter Systems trim pieces to create a sleek, smooth edge. To install, spread your mortar on the wall and then apply the already cut to size trim piece. The tile will sit on top of the trim piece to secure it in place. Determining your tile pattern ahead of installation is crucial. Since we wanted a subway tile look, we cut every other tile in half to create a staggered effect. For this project, we used two different tile cutters. The first was a manual cutter that scores the tile and then uses pressure for simple straight cuts. The second was a wet saw that we borrowed from friends of ours. Since the saw uses a spinning blade, the water avoids sparks and helps cut more precise corners, angles, and more complicated cuts. Alright, it's day 2 of our tiling project, and frankly, I thought I was going to get a whole lot more done yesterday. As you can see, a lot of the wall is still completely bare, but there were just a lot more cuts than I was expecting. So today, we're getting back to it, and we are finishing this wall. I got down to it, but the cuts just kept getting more complicated. When applying your tile, there are two main ways to do it. First, applying the mortar directly onto your tile. This is most useful for tight spaces. In either case, you want to make sure that there are lines in your mortar which will allow the tile to grip to the wall. For our tile, we opted for 1/8-inch spacers, but they come in many different sizes. These spacers were placed between every tile to allow equal spacing across the whole wall. The second way to install tile is applying the mortar directly onto the wall and then placing the tile on top. This is most useful for long straightaways and areas where you don't need to go back and make a lot of custom cuts. Once the mortar dries, you can go ahead and remove the spacers. These can be reused for future projects. I also went ahead and scraped any excess mortar off the tiles to prep for the grout. The tile is all done, and now it's time to grout. Now, the instructions are going to tell you to grout everything and then wipe it all down. But we learned the hard way that is not the way to do it. The first time we ever did our kitchen backsplash in our old house, we did grout everything and then wipe it all down. And then we couldn't get the grout off. So instead, we're gonna work in sections. We're gonna grout a section, wipe it down, and then move on. This way, the grout doesn't sit on the tiles for too long, and we can make sure that it comes off easily. Otherwise, we could be here scrubbing for a long time. So we have our grout. I'm finishing mixing it now, And then we're gonna get it on the walls. Since we don't want to hurt the tile, we're using a foam grout float to press the grout into the spaces between the tile. Once a section was complete, I took my large damp sponge and wiped the excess off, leaving only the grout between the tile behind. The final step is to paint Impregnator onto the grout lines. Impregnator is essentially like a sealer that protects the grout from water or oil-based stains. I ended up doing 2 coats just for good measure. After it's applied, you just wipe off the excess with a dry cloth. Now that the tile is complete, the only thing left to do is caulk all of the edges. For this project, I decided to use tape to create really clean lines. These lines were going to be more visible, and I had some pretty major gaps to hide. The tape worked perfectly. The finished look ended up better than I ever imagined. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel for more how-tos from our how-to home.